Okay, so on the back of last week's blog, which was all about thoughts and how you are the thinker of your thoughts and therefore you can control your thoughts, and how those thoughts will then impact on the outcomes that you get, I wanted to talk to you this week just to see if you could consider whether you are being limited and held back by other people's fears. And just to give you a lead into this, I want to tell you a little bit about the time when we very first arrived in Australia, which was about 2 months ago now. And when I came to Australia, I had no experience of the wildlife. I had no experience of kangaroos. I had no experience of all these weird and wonderful birds that were flying around and squawking at me. And I had no concept as to what was good, what was bad. People told me spiders were going to kill me, the snakes were going to kill me, but I'd got no personal experience. And so I had, obviously we're moving to Australia, I'd been online, I'd read blog posts about living in Australia and living specifically about being in Canberra, and I had learnt that the magpies are really aggressive. People cycle with cycle helmets with cable ties coming out of them to act as deflectors to stop the magpies attacking them. I had read horror stories about people having their legs ripped open when they were attacked by kangaroos, and I had all this negative information via the internet about the wildlife, but I had no other experience to guide me. So that was what I came to Australia expecting, that in Canberra the magpies were out to get me and the kangaroos were out to get me. And it's only through having spent time here and realised that the magpies only get aggressive during the season when they've got chicks in the nest. And even then, it's not all of them. Having spoken to people who live in Canberra, most people are saying to me, it's not an issue. There's the odd one that's aggressive, but you know where they are, you can avoid them, it's fine. And likewise with kangaroos, the first time I went out walking up on the nature reserve just very close to our house, and I saw an enormous kangaroo, I was terrified. It was going to come after me. It was going to attack me. It was going to like rip my leg open with its sharp claws, because they've got very sharp claws. And it's only through experience of being here, being around them. We see them a lot now. And knowing that they're not carnivores. They are not going to come and attack me, okay? They eat grass, they eat leaves. It's only if you spook them, if you really make them jump and it's a male and it's a kind of mating season, there's a chance they will attack you, but it's a very, very small chance. So my kind of emotion around magpies and around kangaroos had been totally driven by other people's fears, not my own. I had learnt to fear these things, kangaroos and magpies, because I had read online, I'd watched videos online of people telling me how horrendous all these creatures were going to be. My own experience has been that that is not the case. That there are little elements that I need to be mindful of, but on the whole, the magpies and the kangaroos are not out to kill me. So I want now to take that experience and apply that in your practice and ask the question, how many fears do you have around elements of your practice? Things like increasing your prices, things like taking on employees for the first time, things around instigating new systems or policies and procedures in your practice. How many of your fears of those things are actually coming from other people? And in doing so, you're building a genuine fear in yourself for those things, just like I did around magpies and kangaroos, which sounds crazy now I say it out loud. But I know that an awful lot of practitioners are listening to their family, listening to their friends, reading blog posts, listening to fellow practitioners when they all get together at conferences. And some of those practitioners have got horror stories to tell. I'm just going to pause for a minute because somebody's shredding something outside my window. Okay, the shredding has stopped. I can carry on. So But those stories that other people are telling you, they're often telling you with they think your best interest at heart. They're warning you about the perils of putting up your prices. All your patients will leave. You'll end up with no patients in your practice. They're warning you of the perils of taking on an employee because they've heard horror stories themselves about X, Y, and Z. And all of those fears of other people can become imprinted on you, and you develop this fear of that thing without ever actually experiencing that thing to create the fear. And it's crazy, but it happens so much. And my experience of the magpies and the kangaroos here really hit home to me how fearful I was the first time I saw a magpie like on the ground and it started hopping towards me. It was going to kill me. In my head, it was coming to get me. And so you can develop a real emotional, genuine fear from zero experience, just from listening to what other people tell you. And so all I wanted to do in this video was just to kind of raise your awareness. A lot of what I'm talking about at the moment is about getting awareness, but is to raise your awareness about just about that thing. Are you holding yourself back because of fears that you've had kind of created in you by other people? As I say, sometimes they do it out of their best intention. They don't want your business to fail. They don't want your patients all to leave. You know, your family will be really worried that your business is going to come crashing around your ears and will be telling you all these horror stories. And so they're doing it from a place of genuine care sometimes. But what I want you to encourage you to think about is, what is the reality? And one of the things you need to do is start to look for evidence. Now, what can happen, and this is exactly what I did with the magpies and kangaroos, because I arrived with that belief that the magpies and kangaroos were out to get me. Every time I saw a magpie and a kangaroo the first few weeks, I was looking for evidence that was true. So if they basically hopped towards me, I was like, look, see, people told me they were going to kill me. They're coming for me, all right? That confirmed my fear, because that magpie was hopping towards me, because that kangaroo was looking at me with a kind of a weird glint in its eye. It meant it was coming for me. And so I looked for evidence to corroborate the beliefs that I had created and to reinforce those beliefs. And it wasn't until I thought, a few weeks had passed and I kind of went, hang on a minute, I'm still alive. I've not been killed by the magpies and the kangaroos. I'm still here. And so I started to look for other kinds of evidence. And I started to look for evidence that the magpies and kangaroos were not out to kill me. And so from that experience and sort of the few weeks since then, I have readjusted my beliefs. I now no longer believe and fear that the magpies and kangaroos are out to get me. And you can do that. You can look for evidence that will confirm your beliefs. And so you uphold those beliefs and say, I truly believe that the magpies and kangaroos are out to kill me, or I truly believe all my patients will leave if I put my prices up, because I've seen some indication. You know, if you write to all your patients and say, just writing to let you know that in 3 months' time we're going to be putting up the prices, and a couple of them grumble about it, you'll take that as evidence that it's a bad idea, that your belief about putting up the prices was right. Okay? But you can do the opposite. You can look for evidence that supports the opposite stance, the more positive stance. You can look for evidence that says, hang on a minute, 99% of my patients have not mentioned it. Therefore, it's not such a disastrous thing. You know, the sky is not going to fall in because I've put my prices up. And so that's what I want you to think about. I want you to think about, are you being impacted by other people's beliefs and other people's fears? And if you are, I want to encourage you to start to look for evidence that is to the contrary. Look for the evidence that says the kangaroos and magpies are not going to kill you. And the fact that a kangaroo was standing quite close by and looking at me kind of a bit shiftily did not mean it was about to get me, because I walked past it, it didn't move. Or if I stood still, it just hopped across the track in front of me and kept going. It wasn't interested in me. It wasn't going to come and kill me, all right? It wasn't going to rip my leg open, as everybody was telling me. And so I was able to readjust my beliefs and my fears because I looked for evidence to the contrary. And that's what I want you to do. If you are feeling fearful about making steps up in your practice, about raising the bar, about introducing new ways of working or whatever it is, start looking for evidence to the contrary. And it's simple things like, has somebody else in my industry done this? Yes, quite probably. Did their practice come crashing down around their ears? Probably not. So that's it really. That's all. I'm waffling now. That's all I wanted to say, was have a think about, are you being controlled to an extent in your practice by other people's fears? Have you created fears of your own because of what other people have told you? And can you now set about looking for evidence that is to the contrary of those fears, so you can reassess, readjust and realign your belief set around that thing, which will then enable you to move forward, to make progress in your practice. That's it. If you have got any questions, queries, pop them in the box below this video. If you would like to see the blog post that goes with this video and you are not watching this video at jillwoods.com, head over to jillwoods.com/blog and you will find the blog that this video relates to, and you can see all the other information that goes with it. I will be back here next week when I am going to be talking about the 6 ways that blogging can really help you grow your practice. So for now, thank you for your time. I hope you found this helpful. I am going to love you and leave you, and I will be here next week. Take care.